as I'm sitting here and you say that, man, I'm thinking about my past relationships. I'm like, damn, I was a victim in those shits, man. Like that's how
Like,
I thought of myself. And I'm like, that wasn't the case at all. Like, damn.
or you see somebody you see your, significant other do something, but you don't speak up, you know, that can lead that passivity. I see it all the time. I work with a lot of men all the time, and they're just like there might as well just be rugs. They're just getting walked on the whole time. They never speak up, and I'm like, you gotta say something, blah blah blah, and they're just holding all this anger in. When
Yo.
we go to the gym, it's like a therapy session. I'm like, why are you telling me, man? I don't go to bed next to you every night. Like, what's wrong with you?
You better talk to your wife, man.
Yeah, you gotta talk to your wife.
Shoot, man, what the heck is
Yeah.
this? Well, well, well. Look at what we got here, bro. Brian and Paul back up in the piece again. It's More Than Black or White podcast. Welcome back, everyone. If this is the first time you're coming in, welcome. B, how you doing today, man?
Feeling good, man. It's snowing outside. First time this year. Well, it's also less than a week into the year, but first time in a long time.
Yeah, right. I'm like looking outside. I'm like, let it
Yeah.
snow, let it snow, let it snow. And it's looking like some decent sized flakes. So let's see if they
Yeah.
stick.
Let's
And
see.
we'll just go from there, man. Like everybody out there, make sure you have your snow blowers ready and you get your strength in your back. All right.
Yeah.
So B, let me ask you, has there ever been a time that you played the victim?
Oh, most of my life I played the victim
Mm, mm,
until
mm.
I decided that I wanted to actually do something in my life. I did my best to get rid of that victim role or victim archetype.
Brother,
But
yes.
we all still have it in us, every once in a while.
Me too, B. Listen, that's why I asked. And listen, and the reason I asked Brian that question is because this is what the topic of this show is about today. Victim mentality, victimhood. I played a victim many times. I've gone out with victims. I've had victims in my environment. So Brian and I are going to talk about this in more depth today as far as what this even entails. Because chances are you may be in a victim mentality and have yet to recognize it. Now, B, I'm just gonna let them know. I'm gonna clue them in on something here real quick.
Break it down.
So everybody, this isn't about bashing you for playing a victim. Okay, this is about supporting you and moving past your victim. Brian, you said it before. It was like, look, I played a victim so I recognize I want to get stuff done in my life. So this episode here is about helping you have your victim, then move past it and get what you want in life. All right. So grab a notepad, grab a pen. We're going to be going into some things and then teach as we usually
Sure.
do. Hey, Brian, let me ask you a question, man. When can you give context around like when a time when you've experienced that victim mentality and what brought you there?
Oh God, so many times. Like I was such a maybe when I was in high school, I was just very insecure at that age in my life, and I was not a good student. And I mean, I didn't apply myself. I wasn't dumb by any means, but like when I come home, I'd rather play video games or go play basketball than do my homework. Than when I would go to school.
Yeah.
I mean, I graduated high school. My class rank was 258 out of 265.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
takes some talent. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You worked at
I,
that.
I passed with a D minus. Like
Yeah.
getting through I barely passed. It went down to the last test before I got my diploma. And shout out to my teacher. I'm not going to call her name out, but there was no way I should have passed. I needed 150% on that test to pass high school, and somehow I got it. So she hooked me up. But throughout that whole time, I blamed teachers for not being good enough. I blamed, my environment. I blamed everybody else except for myself,
Mm.
you know. And that really made me even I look back now and that made me even a worse of a student, made me even more insecure because I felt like I didn't have any control over my life,
Yeah, man.
you know? So,
Dude, thank you
there's
for
so
that.
many times, but yeah, high school, I probably that's the earliest time I remember high school, middle school and stuff like that.
Thank you for that. But so I can remember like one of the incidences that really comes up for me around playing the victim is around race,
Hmm.
especially when I was in corporate. Right, when I was in corporate, it was like, well, I'm not gonna get promoted because I'm black. Like there's no other black people in this office. Why would they promote me? Like, so I was this victim and I was in that mode because of what I was seeing around me and like playing helpless, like, oh my goodness, like there's no way I can get to this level. When in reality, I was holding myself in a box. As soon as I was able to be like, you know what, man, F this, like I'm gonna do what I do, that's when I started getting promoted. I started getting bonuses. I started getting these different props. So the reason why I asked Brian this and I shared this, everybody, is because as much as you've seen Brian and I on these podcasts sharing wisdom and sharing these things that we've learned over time, everyone has the victim archetype. And the archetype, I want you when if you're unfamiliar with the word archetype, think of an archetype as a blueprint. So everyone's got a blueprint of a victim. I was telling Brian in pregame, this came up a lot for me. This came up for me when I was watching, when I got this card deck my sister got me, Carolyn Meese. If you're in the Oracle cards, pick this piece up. But so listen, there is an archetype here called the victim. Okay. I want to read this piece before we really start diving in. The victim, a victim archetype, when properly recognized, the victim alerts you when you're in danger of letting yourself be victimized, either through passivity or rash, inappropriate actions. Also helps you to see your own tendency to victimize others for personal gain. And the shadow victim shows you that you might like to play that role because of the positive feedback you get in the form of sympathy or pity. Okay.
Hmm.
That's a big one, B. That's a big one.
Yes.
Now, this is the piece here. Everyone has this archetype. And the goal, and part of the thing that Brian and I here, the intention that we set for this session is the goal is to always learn how to recognize these inappropriate attitudes in ourselves or others and to act accordingly. So that's what B and I are going to go into today. We're going to highlight some of those patterns that may be showing up in your life that that can have you in that victim mind state, that victim mentality. Then after we go through these things, we're going to talk to you and talk you through what are the ways that you can move past that victim mentality. Okay. B, anything I forgot there?
No, I mean, I think the biggest reason we want to talk about this because if you have that victim mentality, you're never going to reach your goals in life. You're never gonna live the life that you're meant to live. I mean, I do goal setting all the time with clients. That's one of the first things I do is like before I even put them out on the weight training floor. Like, what is your goal? Oh, I'm 300 pounds and I want to drop 100 pounds. Oh, why aren't you there yet? Oh, my wife, she does all the food shopping, or it's tough. I have work events I got to go to. So I gotta be there for my clients. I got to drink. I got to do all this stuff. Every excuse in the book to blame it on somebody else instead of taking responsibility for yourself. And they never, ever reach their goals. And they actually, victim mentality is so bad for your vibration. It just brings you down, which makes you more susceptible to a lot of illnesses and diseases and everything like that. You're just vibing at such a low, low level. So this is one of the reasons I kind of want to bring this up. Paul and I want to bring this up with you guys to hopefully recognize some of the stuff or maybe recognize some people around you that you're like, oh my God, okay, I didn't know this about myself or these people. Then from there you make a conscious decision if you want that in your life, you want those people in your life.
Bro, thank you for that. B, I want to come back to something you said, which is the learned helplessness. For people that are listening, or watching, have you said things similar to what a sample of Brian's clients have said? You've been approached like, hey, accountability time. Well, you have a goal. What's prevented you from getting it? Well, what had happened was the wind was northeast by 15 degrees. I was looking for it to be 10 degrees. Then what happened was, they canceled freaking Lost, and then I had a flat tire. There's all kinds of excuses that can come up rather than taking responsibility. And this is a version of learned helplessness, right? You start to see yourself as powerless in your situation. And listen to the language. Well, what happened was this person does the shopping. This goes into what you said, Brian. Like, for me to fail, to take ownership, that's taking away my power. That's giving it to someone else. Like, oh, well, my wife does the shopping. So you're unable to tell your wife to get something different? You don't have a car where you can go get your own stuff at the supermarket? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's a mindset, being unable to control shit.
You got vocal cords. Speak up, you know?
Let me ask you, man, is, dude, I'm like digging this already. I know we may go a little off script here, but it's all good. We'll
It's
come
all
back.
good.
What do you think contributes to that learned helplessness for people, man?
I think it's programmed for we go back to this first 7 years of your life. Something happened in your life where you made you very insecure about yourself, where you don't like to take responsibility for yourself because the ego is so fragile at that point.
Brother.
So I think it just something happened in your whether it be in your tribe or your childhood growing up that made you had this, I don't want to say weak mentality, I would say this low vibrating mentality. No one likes to be like told they're wrong, right?
Right.
But the problem is if you don't if it's coming from a place of love and somebody tells you, hey, listen, it's wrong, that's very powerful. You should take that and meditate on it.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, true words, man. It's man, that's good. That's good. I'm seeing this too is like in that early stage, B, is what's my value? Because as we're talking about this, I'm recognizing, like, when I hear clients say this stuff, like, I talk to them about, like, okay, what's the priority? Right? Like, okay, if this person's doing this and this person's in charge of your life, then what's the priority for you? Are you your priority? Because if you're a priority, then you're going to take control.
Yeah.
So, and when you talk about the low vibration, I think that's spot on. That hits it right on the head, because in that initial stage, that root chakra stage, that 0 to like 7, 8, that's where we establish our confidence and our value. If there's, and I'm going to speak for myself, like, I have very low confidence growing up, man. Like, and a lot of that was like, I didn't think I had value. Like, I was like, man, I'm not worth shit because my parents got divorced because of me. I was like thinking all this stuff in my head. So that mentality became how I learned helplessness.
Mm.
And I'm just fascinated by this. Like, as I'm looking at our notes here. Stop trying to overcome the challenges that you face, but instead blame everyone else around them for their misfortunes. And I think this is important to note, because in that stage, if I have in that early stage, if I learn to develop value, couple things, I'm able to hear when someone says I did something wrong, because it means I could do things better, right? If I have low value, I'm gonna be like, they don't like me. They think I'm terrible. No, they want to see you win. Like, so they're gonna tell you when you're off, man. It's like a parent. Like, like people don't want to hear that shit. Like, I never used to like my brothers tell me I did something wrong. I'd be like, F you. But then I could come back, I'd be like, damn, you were right.
Yeah. I
You know
think
what I
another
mean?
I think another thing too that creates a little for me personally growing up, like as a kid, if I do something wrong, my parents would yell at me, which they probably should, or my dad would smack me, right? And so that didn't feel good at a young age. So like a lot of people you hold on to that feeling. So every time something bad happens to you, you don't want to take responsibility because it's like getting smacked or yelled at. every single time. So, and
Right.
it's interesting, my fiance has a 2-year-old boy now. I mean, that kid drives me up. I love the kid to death. He drives me. He does things. He'll look at me and he'll like do things he knows he's not supposed to do, and he'll have this like shit-eating grin on his face. And I'm more
Uh-huh.
aware. I'm more conscious. Like, all right, don't yell at him. Like, because I don't want him to kind of like grow up with that
Yeah.
mentality. Like, because that victim mentality. Because that's the way it kind of rubbed off on me a little bit. Sometimes it's hard not to like
Yeah,
put that
yeah, bro. I
thing down.
know.
You know.
I know, bro. Yo, it's crazy, right, B? Because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I do little mother.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
Right
active
now,
therapy for me.
dude. First of all, first I want to acknowledge you and I'm proud of you, bro, because like that's that terrible two stage
Oh,
where the kids are challenging, they're
yeah.
pushing boundaries and borders, man. Like they're like into themselves. Now their communication skills are heightened, their thought processes are heightened, they're more curious. Now they're like, oh, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but like you're like,
Ex-
you little
Yeah.
mother, oh shit. But dude, like, so this comes to I think this is powerful because this is like an incident, right? Which
Hmm.
can pull people into a victim mentality. Like you said, like I'm very similar to what you said about like there's been incidences in that early stage and even later stages where I went into the victim, right? And there's like Brian and I have notes, right? Brian's real good with the notes, so so Brian has one like in the notes. Like I love that you wrote about false proof of anger, and people could spend time suppressing rage. And I think that's important to note because, and I'm going to speak for myself. When I read that in the notes, I was like, damn, that's me. Because uh, I remember growing when my parents were divorced, and I would spend time with my dad. My dad would always talk negatively about my mom. So in that time, like I was pushing down rage and anger towards him because I felt powerless against this dude that was like my dad was like he wasn't tall. I think he was like 5'9", but he was like he had these like big like construction hands, these hazel blue eyes, and when he got mad, it was like I was like no, and he just had like a very combustible energy, right? Highly combustible. So I had suppressed that rage and anger towards him, like the things I wanted to say, to the point that it blew up. So, so there's the reason why I bring this up is people. There's an incident that you may have experienced in your life that will bring you into that victim mentality stage. There's something that you've endured or you think you've had to endure rather than speaking up, and even like thinking that someone is against you rather than inquiring if it's true. You follow what I'm saying, B?
Definitely.
Man.
Definitely.
So yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, and that what that does, it creates helplessness in you. And when you have that helplessness in you, you can't help but because it comes from a place of fear, which anger is the next part of fear. So
Yeah.
it's almost like a wounded animal. They're helpless, they're lying there, but when you go and try to go help them out, what do? They don't come to you with love. They want to
Want to
bite
attack you.
your head off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah. And man, dude, like it's very interesting, man, because even in that space, like that incident, that can put a dent on the confidence,
Mm.
right? So it's like
Yeah.
it becomes a stressor to hold those things. And I think that's the thing for I'm gonna speak because this just came to mind. I think victims have a power within them that they have yet to acknowledge or recognize. They can keep suppressing what they're experiencing, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And rather than express it, they hold it and that lowers confidence. It's basically like if something's happened in my life and I fail to acknowledge or cope with that stress, it's gonna pull me down, man. And being in that victim mentality makes it more difficult for me to cope with stress. Right? Because now I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, like no, I'm just frustrated with this, and now I don't want to say anything because I think it's gonna hurt someone's feelings, or I'm thinking it's gonna be like I don't know, whatever it is. Let's just it makes no sense, man. But
Yeah, you're in the fight or flight. You don't have any logic. You only have emotion. And that emotion is not going to be love or
right,
empathy or compassion,
right.
you know?
Hey, B, have you ever heard of this thing called an amygdala hijack?
Amygdala hijack. That's like your fear sensor in your brain, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, dude, I'm trying to remember where I heard this from, and I love this snow falling outside. But I remember, oh, actually, you know what? I'm gonna look this up. There was a psychologist that coined this term, and so basically, people in the limbic system, there's something called an amygdala, right? It's like you, like Brian said, it's like your fight or flight. So what happens is when I'm gonna speak for myself because I've been a people pleaser for the majority of my life, right? So like Brian, I would hold stuff, right?
Mhm.
Especially like I'll give you a perfect instance. When I used to work at Foot Locker through college. I remember I worked full time and I was going to school full time. So I was under a high amount of stress. And I was one of the assistant managers at Foot Locker in Short Hills. So like I was like, oh, anything they said, Paul, do this, okay. Paul, do this, okay.
Mhm.
And to the point where I was like, F you, motherfucker. They were
Yeah.
like, Paul, who was that? What happened? What's going on? So the amygdala hijack is when a person holds things for a long period of time. Eventually, the system is going to regulate and disperse. Okay. So you're going to act out of character. You're going to blow up in a place you don't want to blow up. And it could be over something insignificant. Like, where the F are my keys? Where are my
Isn't that
cocoa
term?
pebbles, motherfucker? You know what I mean?
Isn't that what they call it, going postal?
Yes, that's exactly going postal. That's exactly. I was looking up something and I just completely disregarded. I got in the story. But yeah, so
Or
dude,
your
that's
term,
the
going Foot
amygdala
Locker,
hijack, huh?
or in your case, going Foot Locker.
Yeah, yeah, I went footlocker on that ass. Yo, I remember. I will always. I vividly can remember my manager's face. He was like,
All
and I
right.
remember when I got out of work, my man Kareem was like, "Yo, Paul, that was some public enemy shit, bro. Yo, you were on some militant black man shit." I was like, "Was I?" Because bro, I didn't remember.
Yeah.
I had no way. I had yet to learn how to cope with stress.
Yeah.
So my way of coping, my body was like, "We can't hold this any longer. We're about to
Mhm.
explode." Yeah, when emotion takes over. But like, yeah, we can post in the notes where that came from. But basically, I want you, people that are listening, I want you to think of, have you ever had that happen for you, where you've held things in for so long that eventually something happens and you blow up and it's out of your character, and then all of a sudden you hit the shame spiral afterwards, like, oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. I kicked a puppy. Like, like I didn't do that, by the way. I'm just saying, no, no, no animals were harmed in this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. Lose all our PETA people, you know?
Yeah. Oh God, no, man. Listen, listen. We're slow. Yeah, a slow climb right now. We're good.
We love animals.
Yeah, we love animals, man. We love the puppies. But bro, I think it's important that we talk to that, like not being able to cope with stress,
Yeah.
because from a victim mentality piece, that's a huge part of this, man. When you like when we talked about some of these, like when you think you're helpless, you're resistant or you're unable at the time to cope with stress. So it shows up in different ways, man. It'll
Yeah.
manifest in different ways. B, what's another thing too that people can look out for victim mentality, bro?
Being around people with unrealistic expectations. So expecting people to know how you feel and give them consideration all the time. So, for example, when someone hurts your feelings without meaning to, you automatically assume it was intentional, but they don't usually communicate it to the other person because that's unrealistically they expect them to know, right?
Right.
And this can cause you to start keeping score in relationships, which when I've seen this a lot when we're working with couples, like they keep score in relationships and it leads to intimacy and trust issues,
Yeah, bro.
because they automatically expect people to know how they feel. But if you, like you said, you keep everything bottled up, you don't do it, you don't express yourself, it leads to a lot of issues.
Brother, that's man, dude.
Hmm.
That's huge, man. Because those unrealistic expectations, that's a key piece that leads that touches on environment.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of environment are you in?
Yeah.
Because
Especially when you're keeping score. I
oh,
think that's huge,
huge
you
man,
know?
huge.
People like you get in an argument with like I've had exes where I get in an argument, they'll bring something up. I'm like, dude, that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, did we squash that? So
Dude, it's very interesting, man. Because I think that's like as you say that, I'm thinking about what's happening right now in relationships. Uh, there's this I think there's this pulse of a victim mentality in these unreal expectations. Like, well, I expect you to freaking take me out to dinner. Well, I expect you to come home and cook and clean and blah blah blah, but blip
mhm,
blip. When in reality, it's like each of these things, like I could do on my own, but like I'm expecting you to do it. So now again, this comes back to the helplessness. Like, oh man, I can't do this. You got to do this for me. And if you don't do this for me, you're a butthole.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, dude, it's really interesting. Um, and that keeping score in relationships, man, I think that's a huge ding on confidence too, because it's like now I'm doing things to get my score up rather than do things to do things.
You're not working on the relationship, you're working on yourself. You're trying to better yourself. And the word better should not even, it should be in quotes, air quotes, because you're not actually bettering anything.
Right.
You're in a relationship that's supposed to be a relationship, and now you're just focusing on just your ego. I mean, every time you do that, you just create more separateness in your relationships, you know?
Man. Oh man. Like as I'm sitting here and you say that, man, I'm thinking about my past relationships. I'm like, damn, I was a victim in those shits, man. Like that's how I thought of myself. And I'm like, that wasn't the case at all. Like, damn,
Or
man.
you see somebody you see your significant other do something, but you don't speak up. You know that can lead that passivity. I see it all the time. I work with a lot of men all the time, and they're just like there might as well just be rugs. They're just getting walked on the whole time. They never speak up, and I'm like, you got to say something, blah blah blah, and they're just holding all this anger in. When we
Dude.
come to the gym, it's like a therapy session. I'm like, why are you telling me, man? I don't go to bed next to you every night. You know, like, what's wrong with you?
You better talk to your wife, man.
Yeah, you gotta talk to your wife.
Shoot, man, what the heck is
Yeah,
this? Dude, when you said passivity, I'm looking back to that, what it was saying about when the victim's properly recognized, it alerts you to let you know you're either wait, you're in danger of letting yourself be victimized either through passivity or rash inappropriate actions. I think what you said there is really powerful because, and I want to stay on this for a minute because I think there's a lot of things that are happening in relationships and people are resistant to speak their truth and to speak their mind and also hold their partners accountable. So if there's an expectation that you have of, and I'm not even thinking of the word expectation. It's probably more like is if there are agreements that you have as a couple and your partner fails to meet the agreement, you got to call it out, man.
yeah, yeah,
You got to call that piece out. You got to be like, yo, you know
yeah,
what, man? Like, you never did this, man. What's scoop? Well, this.
yeah.
So I think it's important, man.
No,
Because
definitely. Every time I have something that comes, I always wear my emotions on my sleeve. Everyone will always know how I feel around them because I can't keep it in. I can't. I cannot not be fake. If something bothers me, I talk to somebody. Maybe I interpreted it wrong. I don't know. Maybe I could have communicated something wrong, and that's why you're acting that way. I have no idea. So I always try to over communicate. And it's like me and my girl, we have a thing where it's like we'll never go to bed angry. You know, we'll always try to talk it out. And I mean, that's kind of cliche now. Everyone just kind of does that, but I always want to work it out because I don't want any resentment. I don't want anything. I want an open relationship. I want us both be confident that we can tell each other whatever we need to tell.
yeah,
Otherwise, again, you start getting resentment. You start keeping score. You start doing little petty shit like to annoy the other person, and almost like that. What's that passiveness.
yeah, yep, yep.
So
Uh,
it's
it,
the good comes out of that.
Dude, it's interesting. In shadow work, they call that like doing shit sideways. Like,
Yeah,
yo, like I'm coming at you with some sideways shit.
yeah, passive
Like,
aggressiveness, right?
yeah, yeah, man. Like,
I can't stand people like that.
bro. And
Like,
listen, I used to be like that, dude,
yeah,
in my 20s, like because I was unable, even probably in my it was definitely in my 30s too when I was married. Like I was unable to really say what was real for me, man. And that would create this I would be passive aggressive. I think what I want to come back to something that you said in the process of acknowledging you. Like while people say never go to bed angry, it does sound cliche, and people say it, but people really aren't doing that shit, bro.
no,
Because that's
no.
work, right? Because think about
Oh yeah,
think about how many times people are like, well, I don't know, I gotta find the right time. I gotta find the right time to say something. When's the right time? Nowish. Well, I don't know. She might be upset. She's on her cycle. Doesn't matter.
no,
Say what's going on, man. Speak your truth. Speak your mind. Because again, there's no victim mentality in that. That's a tension that's being created in the relationship. And in any relationship, especially when we're talking about the unrealistic expectations, like if there's a tension there and I fail to address it, I think I'm a victim, it's gonna blow up in some way, either as a
sure.
couple or as an individual, like destroying yourself or what have you. Let me ask you something else, man. Like, as a victim, what's the outlook like for people? Like, how would you describe their outlook? Like, from like experiences you've had as a victim, and then just from what you've experienced with clients, man. Like, what's their outlook? Would you say?
I would say they have a very negative outlook. They're always like, "Oh, the world is such a dangerous place," or other people, are too self-interested in you, and or they're antagonists towards you, and they think, you kind of put yourself in this situation where like you can't fend for yourself or you can't achieve your goals because of these people. This mindset also gives way to a belief such as like everything bad happens to me and I can't do anything about it. Having that mindset just like crushes your self-esteem and you're not going to get anywhere in life. It just like I refuse. I'm at a point in my life. We talk about this world. I don't have any negative people in my life. I've had friends that I've been friends with since childhood. And like, I get off the phone with them sometimes after like, 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, I feel like I just got a leg day in, man. I'm like,
Yeah,
done with you, man. I'm done. Like, I
I'm
can't,
tired as hell.
Yeah, fix
Yeah,
your shit and come back to me. Do some DMT, do some ayahuasca trips and come back to me, man. We'll pick up this friendship.
bro. That's great, bro. Yeah, you said it's like I just did leg day, dude.
Yeah.
I guarantee people that are listening to this and watching this, I know you have people like that in your life that you talk to them. It's like you're walking through sludge.
Mm,
Okay, they most likely have a negative attitude, negative outlook on stuff.
yeah. And they
Let
just
your shit
complain
alone,
the
man.
whole time. The whole conversation is about them. And you can't get two words in, and that, after like 15 minutes of hearing them talk, you're like, well, so how's everything going with you? Everything's good, man. I'll talk to you later. Like you don't even want to get into it. You know?
Brother, you said it. Dude, I got a story I want to share, right? Which I think it fits right into this. So a friend of mine, I'll no names here to protect the innocent. So a friend of mine I've known, I used to work with her a long I used to work with her a long time ago. Like we've been friends, and like in my experience of her as a friend, like she can be very aloof, fails to take accountability for her shit. Everything else is everybody's fault, and she's like in and out, right? And when I say in and out, she'll be like, "Well, man, we gotta hang out more often." Okay, cool. I'll call and hang out. Like, hey, this thing is going on. I just want to let. I know you'd like this. We have co-work. One of our old co-workers. He used to be he was in a band, so we used to go like watch him and shit. Want to go? No, I can't. Blah blah blah. So something happened. It was a bad incident that happened to her, and I was on the phone with her and I'm just like, I'm talking to her and she's telling me how this happened and they did this and they did that and they did this and da 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 da. I said, okay. I said, and I had to preface this, right? B, I had to put the disclaimer. I said, B, like, oh, damn, I gave away the freaking first initial of her name. But anyway, I said, hey, X, you know I love you, right? She's like, yeah, I know that. Okay, cool. I'm gonna tell you this because I love you. You're my friend. I love you. Question I have for you is, what's your role in all this, bruh? She blew up at me, bro. I can't believe you asking me this question. You think it's my fault, Paul? You're an asshole. I can't stand you. I've been your friend for so long. I've been there for you. I said, okay. So X, I hear all that. And what's your role in all this? You're an asshole, Paul. I can't, don't even talk to me. Lose my number. Click. So why do I tell you this story? I'm glad you asked. Because your environment is a key factor. Because if you have people in your life that are of this mentality that will fail to even inquire or look in themselves to what's their role in a situation, they're a victim. Be
Yeah.
very cautious with that person in your life because what happens is then they'll end up blaming you.
Oh yeah.
It's a matter of time, B.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying, bro? Sheesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's looking for a bobblehead friend. She's
Yep.
looking for
Like,
someone who shakes their head up and down. And to me, that's not even a bobble. That's not even a friend.
it's
You
not a
know,
friend.
I have a lot of, I have a, throughout our life, we see people like, oh, we're best friends. I'm like, you need to call around that. No, I'm not going to call around that. Then you're obviously not, you don't know what a friend is, man.
Right,
Like,
bro.
you know,
Right.
if I have a good friend and they're keeping something from me that can be benefiting me in the long run, even though it might hurt me now, and they're not doing that, to me, that's not a friend. If I find out that they knew something that they could benefit me, you're not my friend. You're
Not
not
my
trying. You're
friend.
not protecting me. You're not. You think you might protect me, but I think you're protecting yourself because you're not. You're not. You don't have the balls or the JJ to have that tough conversation.
But
You know.
B, ding, 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 ding. We have a winner, brother. You freaking hit it on the head, man. Listen, people, there's a couple things in what you said, Brian, that I want to point out and highlight. First of all, when you're a friend to someone, when you care about someone and you notice that they're in the victim mentality, say something. If they get mad at you, that's okay. They may come back, they may not. It's all right either way. You as a friend that loves them and that wants to see the best for them, you get to give them the stuff that's real. It's neither good or bad. It's real. Okay?
Mhm.
Now also, people, if you have a friend that's telling you some shit and calling you out on your shit, take a breath. We're gonna go more into like how we deal with this. But first, I'm gonna do it right now. Take a breath and hear what they're saying. Because if they love you, first of all, the fact that they're even telling you this shit means that they love you. How about that?
Definitely.
Okay. They want to see you win. They want to see the best for you. Okay. Like, listen, I'm gonna use this example today. So, like, listen, like Brian and I, we're working on the schedule for the podcast and what have you, right? So I have a thing where I was like, okay, I'm posting on a certain thing on a certain day. Brian was like, hey, did you post this thing? Because I didn't see it. Oh, junk. Damn, man. No, I didn't. I'm off my game. Now, that's accountability because we care about each other. We're partners in this, man. We committed to something, right? Now, if I was in my victim mentality, like, man, why are you messing with me, man? Like, yo,
You
I
didn't
just,
remind me. You didn't remind me.
yeah, why didn't you remind me? Huh? Huh? Didn't you know that the Knicks lost on Thursday, man? I was upset, man. Leave me alone. No, right? I'm like, oh, jump, man. Damn. All right, I get on my game. So today, I get on my game, right? This is the piece about if you're in a victim mentality, it's tough for you to hear truth. Okay. Your outlook is negative because there's a thing, just like we talked about with the animal that's hurt. They're gonna try and hurt me. There's one other piece, which I think comes in, and then I want to transition it B so we could talk about how people can really get out of this, right? Out of victim mentality.
Yeah.
There's another piece about over explaining yourself. And and this is really interesting because when you're in a victim mentality, when conflict arises, there will be a tendency to over explain yourself. Like B, when you had this in the notes, this was fascinating, man. Like what when you wrote this, like what was coming up for you when you wrote that piece about over explaining yourself as a victim, man?
Oh man, I personally never really done this too much, but I've had friends that like will like they'll explain something. I'm like, oh, what happened? They'll go back about, well, like back in their childhood, start talking about shit. Like I'm like a half hour into the conversation, I'm like, dude, can you wrap this up, man? Like, what are we talking about? And then they're finally like, oh yeah, well, this happened, blah 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 blah. You know, they just go down this like tunnel. I'm like, man, like, I mean, I'm sure we've all had those conversations. You know, like, give me the cliff notes, buddy. You know.
Yo, B, when you said that, what was coming to my mind is like you're in a conversation and there's like this subtitle, 3 hours later, and they're still
Oh,
talking. Like,
yeah.
bruh, like,
Oh yeah, like it's all fluff and has no meaning of what you originally wanted to talk to me about. Just like get to the point, you know. But they're what they're doing is they're trying to set themselves up so that it looks like everyone else is at fault instead of themselves. And
dude,
this creates just a
uh,
very like warped sense of logic to justify their passivity and their inaction. You know.
brother, their passivity and their inaction. This is, and B, this, when you put this on, I was like, brother, because I never thought about this for victim space. I was like, oh shit, that is true. Because think about this, right? It's like in the Mankind Project and also in like the circles that I'm a part of and I run, we have accountability, right? And we have a process to address accountability. So if someone is committed to doing something, they fail to, then like we can do an accountability process to get to the root of what was the real reason that you failed to do it. And it's never about like you're a piece of doo doo. It's more about like, okay, look, let's look at what gets in the way so we can address it so that you can recommit and you can stay committed. And one of the things that we say when we have people go through this is cut the story. Because what you one of the first line is what was the commitment? Second line is did you make the commitment? Um, that's the story. Well, what happened is this and then blah and then did it a bop bop and then this and this that.
Yeah.
Stop. Okay. Stop. Take a breath. Did you make the commitment? Yes or no? And I think there's a piece in there, Brian, where it's like the victim will resist taking responsibility for shit.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
They'll resist it. Coming back to what we said, this is neither right or wrong. We just want to we want to help you acknowledge when you may be in the victim. Okay? Just acknowledge that piece, man. Oh man. Warps, and you said it creates a very warped sense of logic just to justify their past. Yeah, dude. Bruh. That's the line. I'm gonna put that in the intro. Bro. So listen, let's turn the tables because I mean, listen, people, thank you for listening to this. And now we want to turn the tides and provide insight or tips and guides as to how to get yourself out of victim mentality. Or if you're in connection with someone that's in victim, what are some things that you could do? So B, we'll go back and forth on this one. Like what's one tip that you have about helping people to get out of victim mentality, bro?
I like create small goals. That I think that's big for me because when you have that victim mentality, you feel helpless. You feel like you don't have control over your life. Everyone else is kind of against you. So when you create small goals that are achievable, you start getting that sense of like, okay, I have control. I can empower myself. Good things happen to me.
Yeah.
Create easy goals. Whether it be like, you're losing weight, drink a small bottle of water in the morning,
Yeah.
before right when you wake up, or
Yeah.
something like that. Little things you can do, and that just gives you more confidence throughout, later on. It just keeps adding up. It's like almost like that 1% rule. Be 1% better than every day.
Every day, bro. And it's what I'm hearing in what you're saying too, Brian, is it's starting to develop productive habits.
Yes.
Um, uh, uh, B, I want to come back to something you and I talked about in the pregame. Um, and then we'll come back to addressing this because I think this is important for us to share with people.
Mhm.
The victimizing is like a habit, right? And it's something that people can become comfortable to doing. And B, you had a line in there, bro. Can you share what you were sharing with me about like the relationship piece with
Yeah.
victims?
I mean, I read a lot of psychology books, and I forgot the guy who coined this. He's like, well, not really coined it, but he was like, when you have that victim mentality, you're in an abusive relationship with yourself because you're not empowering yourself. You might have a lot of external things on the outside that could be triggering you,
Yeah.
but the way you react to it, it's you have an abusive relationship with yourself. So for like one example, like, the guy was telling me, he's like, everything is like, it's weighted out on a scale.
Yeah.
So if you're with a guy who constantly treats you like shit all the time, that scale gets heavier and heavier, and just say, whatever he does, he cheats on you, he hits you, blah, blah, blah. You have to have the equal amount of abuse or an equal amount of issues or emotional issues inside of you to
Mm,
kind of balance out that scale.
mm, mm,
If
mm.
somebody's treating you like crap and you decide to stay with them, or you're in a job where no one appreciates and you decide to stay there with them, you're in an abusive relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the best way I can explain it. And when I heard him explain this, I was like a light went off my head,
Yeah,
you
bro.
know. So I thought that was very powerful.
Yeah, when you shared that, I thought it was powerful as well. So I'm happy that we shared it with our subscribers and our viewers, man, because that's such a powerful statement. Because really being in an abusive relationship with yourself, think about everything that we said before, like the negative outlook, the conditioned helplessness, like all these different things about like the false proof of anger, the unrealistic expectations. These are all abusive things to self, people.
Yeah,
So
like your friend that blew up on you. She's not in a loving relationship with herself. You know, that outburst alone tells you everything you need to know what kind of how she feels about herself.
Sure, bruv.
You
You
know,
already know, man.
you
That's
already
why
know.
I was more than happy to cut that. I
Yeah,
was like, the last time I was like deleted that number, man. Like, yo, I don't need that in my life, bro. Especially for friends. Like,
yeah. It's not a
I'm like,
friend.
yeah, I'm not really into having a lot of female friends now in my life anyway. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm like, I'm good. But like, it's just I think it's important for people to recognize how impactful and how deep the victim mentality can go. Okay, so B, thanks for taking a pivot back to that, man. I know
Yeah, man.
we're focused on one thing. Let's come back to what are some of the things that people could do. You had basically create small goals, like small wins, small habits.
Mhm.
One of the things I want to relay is have the victim for a short period of time, then move on. Okay. Why is that, Paul? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because by you having the victim, you acknowledge that part. When you fail to acknowledge that part, it's gonna press. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Shoot, man. Like this happened. This happened. Now, what am I gonna do? All right. Because the victim can be a slide, man. The victim mentality can be a slide. If you let yourself stay in there, you're gonna wallow in some victim pond. You're gonna be chilling in a tubie, just like all freaking day chilling. Okay. You gotta dip into that victim pond for a moment, then get your ass out. Stand on your own too. Figure out what you do to move forward or what resources you need to move forward, because then you'll start to condition yourself to be able to stand on your own too and be able to take your circumstances and extract the lessons and the gems from them to move forward. So that's one for me.
Love
Hey,
it,
what's another one you got, bro?
man. Giving others love, man. People that have a victim mentality, in my opinion, and just dealing with this personally, you lack love for yourself. So the best way to get something that you don't have is to give it, right? So give love to people. Give love to people, especially this is the hardest part, is give love to people that you don't think deserve it. That's big. That's a multiplier. You can give if you
See,
give love to somebody you care about, yeah, it'll have an effect. But you give somebody that love that annoys you, man, that's like squared or cubed there. That power.
bruh, you just said a yo, man, you said a mouthful there. Give people the love, even though you think they may not deserve it. Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah.
Bruh, you know how listen, we're talking here, these are words. To actually do this is extremely difficult. I'm speaking from experience. Like learning to give love to the mothers of my children. Because there's a part of me that thinks like they don't deserve shit. That's my victim mentality.
Hmm.
Okay. When I love them up, I'm like, yo, man, listen. It's not about me, man. I love them regardless, man. Look, what do you need? You know what I mean? Now listen, I'm saying this because this takes work and practice. This takes loving yourself, learning to love yourself. Because if you constantly think like, oh, I can't give that person love, they did this, you're gonna constantly be in the victim.
Yeah.
Forgiveness and
You know,
love. That's huge,
we're
man.
gonna we're gonna get into psychedelics in a couple episodes, and when you if anybody's ever actually done like serious psychedelics for personal growth, not just like partying at a club in New York and throwing mushrooms in your mouth, but
Yeah.
actually personal growth, you realize that everything is interconnected, and you realize that people in your life are the people you chose to be in your life, and you might not realize this now on this plane or in this dimension, but when we all pass on later on, we're gonna meet up with that person. We're gonna dab up. We're gonna hug each other and be like, "Hey, man, that was great. Good job.
Yeah,
Let's
good job. You
see
did
you
your
next one."
job. Bless up.
Yeah. You know?
Yo, that's the gem right there, bro. That's the gem. That's huge. That huge. And as you say that, B, I'm thinking about that abusive relationship with self, man.
Yeah,
Because to be able to do that requires you to do that work on yourself, man.
definitely.
It's huge. It's huge, man. The piece I have is change your language. Specifically, if you find yourself saying, and I find myself saying this a lot, why is this happening to me? Change this to why is this happening for me? Okay. Notice there's an energetic there's a frequency shift in those two phrases. Why is this happening to me means like I'm powerless in this. Why is this happening for me is giving me a leg up. This is like this whole situation is a lesson for me to ascend. Okay. Practice that. It seems small and a small shift in language, yet the small shift in language has a major impact. Try it for yourself and notice how you feel when you reframe. That's called a reframe in language. As soon as you hear yourself say, why is this happening to me? Hold on. Why is this happening for me? Ooh, okay, show me some stuff, man. So that's another piece that you can rock with. Bree, we'll give them one more piece and then we'll wrap this piece up.
Last one's a little cliche, but we bring it up. I bring it up at least. Have a gratitude list, and the reason I bring
Mm,
that up is because gratitude, it has the highest vibration, one of the highest vibrations, and you attract what you're grateful for.
yeah, bro.
So whatever it is, be grateful for what you have. You don't have enough, you don't have money, you want more money, be grateful for the $300 you have in your bank account. You want, I don't know, you want a Lamborghini, be grateful for the Hyundai Sonata you're driving right now with the three wheels, the other ones and the other ones got to repair the tire on the flat, you know, repair the
You're on the
flat
donut.
tire. Yeah, I mean, be grateful for what you have.
Yeah, man.
Make a list. I've done this probably for the last 20 years, and whatever I'm grateful for just magnifies.
Mm,
If you understand how vibration works, and we talked a little bit about quantum physics in a past episode.
Yeah.
check it out. Like it's all science, not airy fairy. This is science, you know.
True words, bro. True words. Man, that's a great one, bro. That gratitude is so powerful and special. And I love that you mentioned how it's a frequency. It's one of the highest frequencies, and it will shift up. And thank you for providing examples too, because I think that I judge that when people hear about, hey, make a gratitude list, it's like, oh, I'm grateful for my mom and my family and blah blah. No, give it a go to be grateful for the shit in your life.
Yeah. And don't say it with your mouth, say it with your heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, oh man, I'm grateful for
Feel
this.
that shit, you know?
Feel it, man. Like, I'm grateful for freaking this parental alienation.
Mhm.
Like, it's helping me be a better man.
Yeah.
Like, even though I never wanted to recognize that before, bruh, it's been helping me be a better, stronger, more resilient man.
Good, man. Good.
You know what I'm saying? So, bruh, bless up to that. Now, last one.
Hmm.
And we got, listen, because you notice there's a couple more, and I'm gonna go with this one. B. This is the last one on your list, right?
Do it.
And this will also incorporate the fourth one. So take ownership of yourself. Okay. Take ownership of your actions. Take ownership of your language. Take ownership of your thoughts. Take ownership of your beliefs. Okay. Take ownership of past mistakes. Be willing in that ownership that also has an element of forgiveness. Okay. For me to take ownership of something, I get to recognize, like, okay, man, yeah, that was a mistake. I messed up. Like, I forgive myself because I learned this. This in turn will help me put that behind me, put the scenario behind me, and then I could fully take ownership of a situation or whatever's come up that made myself a victim to. See? So we got some goody goods here. I hope you're writing notes. If not, you can press pause and then rewind by 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or just move the dial back and then you can hear us again. All right. And that's how it goes on YouTube. That's a beautiful thing. Want to remind you all that we are on Spotify and podcast platforms. So you can always come back here, hear the latest. Everything that's on Spotify, that's past episodes. So if you want to go to the archives, or you want to hear our voice and some of the wisdom, hit up the podcast or the Spotify, Apple Podcast, all that stuff. Hit us up, you'll find us there. More Than Black or White Health Podcast. It's all the goody goods. It's past episodes. So again, you can listen to it in your car, listen to it at work, because sometimes YouTube may be inconvenient for you, and we're still here. Come back to YouTube page for the latest, the greatest, the tip top, up to date information, and discussions, and we rock from there. B, any last words before we wrap up, my man?
But we appreciate you, man. We're up to over 60 subscribers now. Keep subscribing. That motivates us. It takes a lot of effort to put these videos in, so every little piece of motivation helps. Comment in there. We love hearing your comments. We love answering back out. We've had some people comment and how much they like it, and gives again more motivation. Put some
Bro,
comments in there what you want us to talk about. We'll talk about anything, you know.
thank you.
We have a lot of knowledge in this. Not that we know everything, but we know where to find the knowledge.
Yeah,
You know?
brother, thank you for saying that. And yeah, we'll know where to find the knowledge. You all have experienced some of the guests that we've had on the show. So Brian and I, especially with our commitment to this and getting you all information that's going to help you with your health and well-being, we're committed to. We already understand. Like, we have yet to know everything, and we don't want to know everything. The
Yeah.
master knows nothing. It gives us an opportunity to learn. It gives us an opportunity to grow, and it also gives us an opportunity to invite in guests to help us with different topics. So if there's things that you're like, yo, I'd like to hear what these guys think about this, put in the comments. Send us an email. morethanblackorwhite@gmail.com. Yeah, man. Great episode, bro.
Another one in the books.
Another one in the books, baby. What did I say? And another one. Who does that? Is that
DJ
DJ
Kali,
Khaled?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, DJ. And another one. Yeah, buddy. Listen, you all know the drill. Like, share, subscribe, comment. We love to hear from you. We love the feedback. Keep us top of mind. Appreciate you all. Till next time.
Appreciate you all.